Road bike, mountain bike, gravel bike, city bike. All bicycles have wheels. And the thing about bicycle wheels is they're made up of so many small parts and they're in almost constant motion when you're riding. So they're one of the most common things that make noises on your bicycle. And these noises, these ticks and clicks and clanks, they can drive you crazy and it's hard to figure out where they're coming from. So what we're going to do today is look at 5 common wheel noises that you might hear on your bicycle. And we're going to look at what causes them, and I'll give you an idea how to fix them. Make your bike be quiet and be able to enjoy your rides again. That way you won't have to ride down the road looking like this. If you hear a buzz sound or a rattle and you have threaded Presta valves on your bike, these threaded valves are often held on with a valve nut. See it here, this little ring on the bottom? Sometimes it actually looks like a nut. On tubeless valves, sometimes it looks like this. If these nuts come loose on the valve, because they're loose, when you hit bumps, and you're going over rough pavement or dirt, they can rattle and make a noise. And the simple way to fix it is to just hold on to them and tighten them up so that they're bottomed out against the rim. That will stop that buzz and rattle noise quick. But don't make the mistake of tightening them down with a pair of pliers, because if you do that and you ever have to fix a flat on the road, it might be impossible to get them off with your bare hands. They don't need to be that tight. You just tighten them down by hand and make sure they're snug. That'll stop any noise. Another way to deal with a loose valve nut is to remove the valve nuts. You can do that on regular threaded Presta valves, but if you do that on tubeless valves, the valve nut is actually part of the sealing mechanism of the tire, and you don't want to remove those nuts because they're holding the air in. The reason you might want to keep your valve nuts on is because they do serve a purpose. When you put your pump head on to inflate a soft tire, if the valve nut isn't there, the valve can get pushed down inside the rim, making it harder to inflate the tire. So the valve nuts do serve a purpose, and you might like to have them on there. But if that doesn't bother you, you can certainly take them off to stop any noise. A valve noise that can be a little tricky to figure out comes from valves that don't have any threads on them. Some valves, they don't have nuts on them, like the valve we looked at before, the threaded valve. With this type of a valve, they can actually move when you're riding down the road. And because they're moving and tapping into the rim, they can make a little tick, 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 and then the faster you go, the quicker you hear it. Tick, 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 tick. And it can be mystifying where it's coming from. You can look all over and you might not be able to find it. For this type of valve, the way to fix that noise is to stop the valve from moving in the rim and hitting the rim. So an easy way to do that is to take the tube out and just wrap a piece of electrical tape around the valve. You just don't want to put so much electrical tape on there that it won't fit through the hole. So a little trial and error. And make sure that the electrical tape is in between the valve stem and the rim. And once it's in there, bye-bye tick, tick, tick noise. The tick, 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 or sometimes people call it a click, click, click noise that you just heard, is actually coming from the spokes where they cross. The spokes touch each other right here on most wheels, and if the spokes touch each other, there's a chance for this corrosion to get in there and for the spokes to start making a little noise when they move. When the wheel goes down the road, the spokes move, rubbing against each other, and they make this little click noise. And we look right here, we can see the wear spot where the two spokes have been in contact, and where that noise is coming from. This is more of a problem in my experience on road bikes than on mountain bikes. It can happen on any bike, but with a low tire pressure on a fat tire bike, you're less likely to hear the noise, but it can click and tick on a road bike when you're climbing up some nice road, slow speed. Every time the spoke comes around, the spoke that's clicking, the two spokes, you'll hear it over and over again, and it's hard to figure out where it's coming from. And if you move the spokes and they make that click noise, then that might be the culprit. To fix it, get a thin lube like a tri-flow and go around and put a drop of lube at each cross. Then squeeze it to give it a chance to work its way in. Then wipe off the excess so it doesn't attract dust and grit. And if you're lucky, that simple lubing will cause the noise to go away. If you have a click or a tick that's annoying you and you try lubricating where the spokes cross and the click doesn't go away, you might have a click coming from a spoke nipple, or here's an older style rim that has a ferrule. You see the little ring here around the spoke nipple? That ring there is an insert that's pressed and squeezed into the rim, and they can sometimes come loose and start making noise. So what you do in this instance to try to get rid of the click is similar to what you did to get rid of the click and tick at the cross. Put a drip of lube in there, a drop of lube. You want it to get inside the spoke nipple pocket. You also want to get it inside the ferrule. Since you don't know which one is making the click, you can go around and lube each one. Now, these pressed-in fittings are actually on both sides, on the outside and on the inside. So after you lube the outside, you want to go take the tire and tube off if it's still clicking, so that you can get inside and apply lube to this part of it too. Here you can also get lube on the nipple on the inside of the rim. And that might stop the ticking and clicking. When you're working on fixing a clicking or ticking noise, you start looking really closely at the spoke nipples and at the rim. You might discover, I hope this doesn't happen, but sometimes when you look really closely, and I'll take a super close-up photo here, you might notice that the rims are cracking. This is kind of an older problem. They've sort of solved it. But these aluminum rims, hard anodized aluminum rims, can be a little brittle, and over time the spoke nipples can pull hard enough. Over time the rim can crack right at the spoke nipple, and those cracks can make noise. And unfortunately, the only way to fix that, I mean, you can lubricate it to try to make the noise go away, but if a rim is cracking, what's going to happen is the wheel's going to keep going out of true over a period of time, and the crack's going to get worse. So the solution here is to replace the rim or replace the wheel. The next one is a rattle or a clank noise. You usually hear it when you're actually riding down the road. It's kind of hard to simulate it on the bike, but when you're riding down the road, it'll be sort of a metallic clank or a rattle. And it's usually accompanied by sloppy shifting, because what's going on is the cassette cogs have loosened up. They're not tight anymore. And so the whole cassette is moving around on the hub. So you can understand how it wouldn't shift as well anymore, and how you could have some crazy noises. Hear how much noise that makes. The way to fix a loose cassette and stop that clanking and metallic noise is with the cassette lock ring tool. You'll see that if you take it up here, it fits right into the spline. You want to get the right one for your brand of cassette. And then you can turn the tool with an adjustable wrench, or they make the tool built into a handle like this nice Park tool right here. Once you have the tool, to tighten the cassette, it's pretty easy. You just slip the tool in. Make sure you get it in fully. And hold the wheels securely, because you have to tighten the lock ring to about 40 Newton meters, which is a pretty good push. Pretty good amount of torque. And then you take the tool out, and you no longer have loose cassette cogs, so that clank noise will go away and your rides will be nice and quiet again. Since clicks and ticks and wheel noises like that can be so annoying, I have one more for you. If the other ones don't work, but you have a click or a tick or a funny little noise when you're pedaling down the road or on your older mountain bikes, you might have a quick release. And the quick release mechanism has working parts. And sometimes these guys make noise where they interface with the frame or where they interface with different parts that make these things up. So let's look at one, and I'll show you where to put the lube that can stop that kind of noise coming from one of these quick releases. What can cause the noise is that the pieces are different materials. So this is aluminum and this is plastic. So if you can lube in between these two pieces here, basically the cam mechanism, if the lube gets down in there, that can stop a creaking from right there. And then the other two things are the pieces that rest against the frame. See that serrated surface there? And there's another one over here. If you take a little grease and put a little grease on that surface, when you put it back in, that can stop some of those mystery ticks and click noises. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you have a wheel noise or a bicycle noise that you figured out, a mystery noise that was driving you batty and you took a while to figure out what was causing it and how to fix it, it'd be great if you'd share it in the comments. It would help other people that watch this video looking for a solution to a noise that they can't figure out. And there are a lot of them, not just bicycle wheel noises. I actually have a document on my bicycle website that I've been putting together for over 15 years, compiling readers' noises that they found and fixed on their bikes. So I'll put a link to that below. That's a text document, but you can search it pretty easily and find cures for all kinds of noises on bicycles, and a lot are on bicycle wheels. If you have any bicycle questions, be sure to leave a comment. I try to answer every comment as quickly as I can. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. Appreciate you watching. This is Jim Langley, and I'll see you in the next video.